All right, section 8.3 is the last section in chapter 8. And just like what we were doing in the last section, we're still going to be finding confidence intervals, but this time for means instead of for a proportion. Okay, so our big picture view here, to find a confidence interval for mu, the mean, okay, we're going to use the t interval on your calculator. Okay, that's the command that we're going to be using. All right, so how do you calculate the margin of error for a confidence interval for mu? Well, you calculate it the same way. You do the upper boundary minus the lower boundary divided by 2 to get your margin of error. And we find the confidence interval by going to that t interval. So let me tell you where that's at. Just like before, we go ahead and hit stat, then arrow over to tests, and then arrow down to where you see t interval. Now again, on my calculator, it's number 8, and so on yours, it's probably 8 or 9. But go ahead, feel free to write down exactly where it is you find it. Okay, you're looking for the one that says t interval. Now, for these next two examples, we're not actually going to need to use that function. We've got all the information we need, but now at least you know where it's located. So when we get to example 3 on the next page, we know what to do. Okay, so let's say we have a confidence interval where we have a lower bound of 15 and an upper bound of 35. So first thing, write the confidence interval using interval notation. So that just means with the parentheses. So 15, comma, 35. Done. Okay. What is the point estimate? So remember, the point estimate is the number smack dab in the middle. Okay. So how do you find the number in the middle of two numbers? You average them. Or in this case, I hope it's fairly obvious that halfway between 15 and 35 is 25. Okay, but if it's not quite so obvious, add the numbers up and divide by 2. All right, so 25, what would our symbol be? Okay, well, remember the point estimate is we are making an estimate for the mean. And so when we use a sample, our symbol is X bar. Okay. And then what is the margin of error? So just like before, we can do upper minus lower divided by 2, or we can say, how far are the upper and lower boundaries from that point estimate X bar? Well, those upper and lower boundaries are 10 units from 25. Okay, 25 minus 15 or 35 minus 25. Take your pick. All right, and one last one here for this video. This will be a nice short video. A 95% confidence interval for the mean number of hours of sleep that full-time college students sleep during a weekday was found to be 8.3 plus or minus 0.5. So what is the point estimate? So remember, what we've got here is we've got 8.3 and we're saying plus or minus 0.5. Not 0.5, 0.5. Okay, and so then we've got a lower boundary and we've got an upper boundary. The point estimate is the one in the middle. So the point estimate is that 8.3 hours. That's the result of the survey. Okay, what is the margin of error? Well, that's how much you are going above or below that point estimate. So the margin of error is that half of an hour. And then interpret the confidence interval. Okay, so there's a 90% chance the true, now this is not a proportion, okay, we're talking about the true mean number of hours of sleep college students get during weekdays is between, and on the low end, so 8.3 minus 0.5 is 7.8, and on the upper end, 8.3 plus 0.5 is 8.8 hours. Okay, and so there's the interpretation of your confidence interval.